Elowyn, the legendary healer from the Esotericist faction, one of only 2 legendary healers in the game. She is an absolute beast at healing and offers the highest healing output in the entire game from a single hero. We'll go over her skills, we'll go over her awakenings, what skill ups you should hope for, we'll talk about gear and what gear sets to aim for, what artifact you should equip on her, as well as what content she is most useful for. So let's start with her skills. Elowyn has no talent. Her basic attack heals 3 allies for 42% of her attack. Her ultimate, Grace of Nature, has a rage cap of 1200 and it dispels all debuffs for all allies in her range and heals them by the amount of 18% of her attack per second for 10 seconds. So a total of 180% of her attack over 10 seconds. This can of course be increased to 28% of her attack, and we can also increase her initial rage as well as reduce the skill consumption down from 1200 to 1000, making it a lot more frequently available. She has a passive Elf of Forest. This has a 40-second down to a 30-second cooldown pending skill ups, and it allows you to summon and place 1 Wood Elf, which once deployed heals surrounding allies by an amount equal to 12% of Elowyn's attack every half a second for 10 seconds. So effectively it is 20 instances of heal, each one for 12%, so a total of 240% attack healing over 10 seconds. You can place these Elves of the Forest anywhere that you can place a normal fighter or defender, but they cannot occupy a tile that is already occupied by another one of your heroes. This is a fantastic ability. You can use this to effectively heal 2 areas at once on opposite sides of the map, or you can stack this with her ultimate and her basic attack to just truly heal everything in the area and keep them from dying. She has the auto Nature's Favor, restores rage every 3 to 5 seconds for all allies equal to 1 to 3% of their rage caps. At max level, this effectively grants all allies within her healing range, which is the row behind her and then 3 in front of her, for 1% of their rage cap a second is what it works out at. This is especially good with mages being in her attack range, someone like Karmet, Vienna, people with high rage caps, people who benefit a lot from their ultimates such as Salazar, who does massive damage, Zillatu, Setram. These are all heroes who just favour so strongly from being inside Nature's Favour. So we'll talk a bit about her awakenings. Her awakening 1, after using Grace of Nature, which is her ultimate, reduces damage taken by 20% for 10 seconds. This helps her stay alive. This could be very powerful somewhere like Gear Raid 2, where it is quite difficult to keep Elowyn alive during all of the damage instances. Awakening 2 increases her attack by 300. This will obviously increase all of her healing. Awakening 3, basic attacks have a 20% chance of dispelling debuffs. She already dispels debuffs with her ultimate, but it's nice to have an additional, and bear in mind she targets 3 people at a time. This could be something that becomes more important later as we get more content, but it has potential to be quite good. But for now is not the best. Awakening 4, rage regen +1 auto, so this every second she gains 1 extra. It's okay, it's not large. Awakening 5, obtain a Wood Elf immediately after using Grace of Nature. This is very good, because you can use a Wood Elf, ult, and then use another Wood Elf. You can only have 1 down at a time, but it means you can just consistently have them up. So there's a lot of power in that. And then back to the skill ups. Honestly, almost all of these are just fantastic. I really should put more skill ups into mine. Her Nature's Favour is especially powerful because of the rage regen it gives you. It just gives you a lot more ability to nuke out damage of your fighters. Basically, Elowyn is able to support through massive healing, but also able to increase the rage recovery of her allies, which is great for helping their DPS. And as this scales with the rage cap of her allies, if she's dealing with someone like Karmet or mages with a really high rage cap, the recovery she's granting them it can be equivalent to like 12 flat rage regen. That's an insane amount to get every second. So definitely do not underestimate Nature's Favour. It is very powerful as passives go. Elf of the Forest has so much versatility that it is great, so this is good to level up, although I think of the 3, Elf of Forest is probably the lowest priority, as you kind of save it for clutch moments, and having a 40-second cooldown is fine. You're not going to be using it off cooldown in 90% of content. Having a lower rage cap for Grace of Nature would be very good, and the attack healing increase is massive. 10% extra from 18% would be a very, very big bonus. So this was a good one to upgrade as well. In general, where you're hoping for your skill ups to land, hopefully you will land them in Nature's Favour and then Grace of Nature. I think you definitely want to max Nature's Favour and ideally get some more in Grace of Nature if you can. but being a healer, Elowyn is not the highest priority, especially for legendary skill crystals, which are quite hard to come by. So you do not have to worry about maxing her, though she is very potent in so much content. So moving on to gear for Elowyn. Elowyn has quite low base HP and quite high base attack with fairly average defense. You're going to want to scale her on attack and on healing effect, so you can use a mixture of the two, or you can go all into one. I personally prefer focusing on just attack, though it doesn't really matter too much as far as I'm aware from my testing. So for stats, you're going to want to have attack bonus and healing effect as your primary stats on your accessories, with a sub being the other one, so attack and then healing as a sub, or healing as the main and then attack bonus as the sub. On top of that, you're going to want to have a flat attack as the other sub. You're going to want to pick up some HP bonus. Defense is also quite nice, and rage regen will be quite good as well. HP and defense is not especially required. It's just when you get into content such as Gear Raid 2, making Elowyn more survivable can be quite helpful, especially for the earth shakes, which do rapid damage, which is quite high and can be quite damaging for someone like Elowyn. So I do like to try to pick up some survivability for her. As for the sets to use, on the left side, the weapon slots, I would recommend using the elite healer set, or alternatively you could take the elite mage set, as that is attack and she scales on attack. So whichever one has the highest healing effect and attack bonus substats for your character is the set that you should use. As for the right side, there are a number of viable options for this. Naturally, one of the best options would be the Asclepius set, giving you 10% max HP and 15% healing effect, makes you more survivable, increases your healing done. You could also look at the Mana Spring set to increase your rage regen so you can get her ultimate up more often. However, I have opted to go for the Guardian set to reduce damage taken by 15%, and because of that I am using slightly worse pieces, as I didn't have a lot of pieces for this. The reason I went for Guardian is it helps deal with Gear Raid 2, 19 to 21. There is so much damage coming in, and with my current lineup, I don't have many healers down as they simply die too quickly. I found having the flat 15% damage reduction to be very helpful, especially when she is under the effect of other people's shields. I quite like the Guardian set. I think this is my preference, mainly because her healing is so high, she doesn't really need that much more. You can see her attack is very high, and I still have a decent amount of healing effect, so giving her some survivability via flat reduction of damage is quite helpful. But absolutely I would recommend the Asclepius set or the Guardian set if you are trying to progress in Gear Raid 2 like myself. As for what artifact to give her, I think there are actually quite a few good options. There are a bunch of different artifacts you could give Elowyn. A lot of them are very good for her, but in my personal opinion, Gift of Hope is probably one of the best ones you could throw to her, just because that's when the healing matters most. And I am very interested in the North Glory just because of where the current content is, how useful getting shields would be. So my personal suggestion would be the Gift of Hope or the North's Glory. There is a marked benefit in using Gift of Hope. It is a myth piece, which means it has higher base stats, more attack for her, and more health to make her more survivable. So yeah, definitely take one of these two pieces in my opinion, but many others are also viable to some degree. Elowyn is a member of the Esotericist faction, and if we look at them quickly, the faction Legendary Lord is Venoma, and Raiden is the Epic Lord. The Epic Lord grants 10% stat bonus as well as skill cost reduction of 20%. This reduces the necessary rage to cast her ultimate, which is quite a nice reduction, but it's nothing crazy. Usually you're not casting her ultimate as soon as it's available, you're saving it for certain moments, and Venoma's is similar. As a healer, Elowyn doesn't need to do too much other than keep her team alive and provide her passive benefit from nature's favour. So next up, what content is she useful in? She is one of the best heroes in the game for campaign progression. She is an absolute beast for keeping people alive. If you just need to progress through campaign, be it normal, hard or expert, Elowyn is going to be a staple in pretty much every single mission. Having healers is kind of necessary in pretty much every level. There are very few stages where you don't need a healer. The stages where you do need a healer, Elowyn will get it done, and usually by herself, because she can heal using her wood elves across the map as well. So she is just phenomenal as a healer in campaign. In the raids, in promotion raid, wherever you can use her, she'll be fine. In resource raid, she is not useful at all, really. You could technically use her for the rage regen she provides from her passive. Guild boss, she can be used for a fair while, mainly because one, she is a good healer, she is an AoE healer, and also because she has the ability to grant rage regen to her allies, allowing you to get your ultimates up sooner, so you can dish out more damage more often. So she's not too bad there, but really she gets outshone by healers like Dolores and by Hollow, who has other rage regen abilities which are slightly more potent. Elowyn kind of takes a back seat in Guild Boss, but she is not very far behind. She is a very good option if you don't have a Dolores and you don't have a Hollow build. In Artifact Material Raid, Elowyn is my go-to healer, just because she has the biggest burst heals and she heals 3 people at a time. The boss Salazar uses his ultimate, which hits many targets at a time, dealing massive burst damage, and she is great for keeping everyone alive. On top of that, everyone in her healing range will be getting rage regen, so that will help deal with the boss faster. Faction Trial does not currently have an Esotericist trial available yet, but it will do in future. But she is great in basic trial. There is a lot of damage coming in, a lot of heroes need to be placed, and she is fantastic for healing all of them at the same time. She is also great in Tide, as she has an incredible amount of healing again. She has massive ultimate range, lots of good benefits to having Elowyn in Tide. And then finally, moving on to the Gear Raid. Gear Raid 1, she has some usage. Again, her rage regen is great here because you are dealing with mages. This is all about AoE magic damage, and the faster you can get your ultimates up, the better. I personally use Vierna a lot, and having her ultimate up more frequently is just very, very good. Same for Karmet as well. So while on the topic of healers in Gear Raid 1, I use Dolores a fair bit, alongside Elowyn in the harder stages of Gear Raid 1, the newer stages of 19 onwards, because her ultimate gives attack bonus, but she is not a strong enough healer by herself to save me from the damage that comes in 19 onwards, so I use Anvita and Elowyn in conjunction, and stacking both of them over my main mages grants them massive attack bonuses and allows their ultimates to come up sooner, though you could use Hollow instead of Elowyn for this again. In Gear Raid 3, Elowyn is a very good option just for her ability to heal massive areas, and for her ability to grant rage regen again. In Gear Raid 2, I would say Elowyn is basically unparalleled here. I don't know any other healer I would rather use than Elowyn, just for the sheer amount of healing that is required for these stages, and you can see from the guide as well that she is recommended. The other legendary healer, Gwendolyn, is recommended for this as well, but it is worth noting Gwendolyn is not a real healer. She is pretending. She throws shields out, the shields are very good, the shields go down, you die. Elowyn is the person who keeps people alive, and Gwendolyn will never replace that. So Elowyn is hands down the strongest healer in the game for sheer output of healing, and Gear Raid 2, 19 to 21 are the stages that really push that to the limit, and there is no healer who will do a better job than Elowyn in that scenario. So that's a pretty quick overview of where you can use Elowyn. I think I've made it pretty clear by this point, she is the best healer in the game in terms of healing output. She is also the most versatile in how much healing she can do and where. She has an ultimate to help burst to keep a large area up alive, and she can place down a wood elf also within the same area or further away should you need more healing in the same area, or to heal another place, or to help another place's healing. Her rage recovery is also very, very potent, so she is great in many different ways. She is only outshone in areas where massive healing isn't necessary and you need more utility. In those scenarios you would use someone like Hollow or Dolores for their buffs. But in content where staying alive is the priority, Elowyn is an absolute god. That pretty much covers Elowyn. Thank you very much. If you have any questions, do leave them below. Take care guys, bye bye.